Hello, everyone. You're welcome to the show once again. Thank you so much for staying tuned. And to our new subscribers, we are so delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Today, we're going to be having a very exciting topic. And trust me, it's something that you wouldn't want to miss out on the nuggets and the important views that we're going to be having. We have a very important guest speaker in the house today, in person of Sir Taylor. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We're going to be having an exciting topic, like I earlier mentioned. We'll be talking about leadership, but in this aspect, we are looking at an outstanding leader. So our guest speaker for today is going to do justice to this topic. So please, sir, tell us about yourself.
All right. Thank you so much, Queeneth, for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
Basically, I would say it's a privilege to be here, first of all. And when you talk about myself, um, I'm just a child of God, first of all, someone who loves God. And secondly, I'm a privileged leader. So, by the grace of God, I am the lead steward of Oton Foundation International, as well as an author, and maybe so many other things. But for now, I'm just going to leave the details.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. We have, like I said, an amazing guest speaker today. He's going to do justice to this subject. Just like you heard him said, he's a steward, and which means he's a leader in an organization. And so we're going to be talking about the outstanding leader. So it goes beyond you just being a leader and perhaps the perception you've had about leadership so far. So, Satelo, can you tell us what you mean by the word leadership?
All right. First, one thing we need to know is that people use the word leadership too much, and then they miss out on the real definition of leadership. For example, we often hear that leadership is influence, but if that is true, if leadership is just influence, it means that anybody can influence anyone to do anything actually. So I don't think that's the totality of the definition of leadership. However, I think leadership is um, is influence, is a capacity to influence people. Is actually influence, but you influence people through inspiration. So leadership is the ability to influence people through inspiration. That's the first definition of leadership. So, in other words, you are not forcing people to follow you. You're not forcing people to do certain things. They look at you, they look at your lifestyle, they look at your legacy, and then they're inspired by what you do and they choose to follow you. So that's, I think, the accurate definition of leadership.
Thank you so much for that definition. Just like you mentioned, leadership is not just about influence because you can influence people to do the wrong thing. So that brings us to this very important perception, which talks about the value system of a leader. So can you please highlight the qualities of leadership?
All right. I I'll start by maybe using the word leader, and maybe I'm going to be really fast about it. But when you talk about leader, okay, let's do a little game. We could highlight the alphabet in the word leader, and we could say the L stands for learned. So a leader is one who is learned. You see, every leader is first a follower. So it means you're learning from a source. You have someone you're learning from. This is where we start talking about the importance of mentorship and training. Okay. So as a leader, you first need to be teachable. All right. Many people say um, we should learn, but learning is not just about you see acquiring knowledge, right? Learning, the way I see it, is your ability to also be teachable. Many people, they know a lot of things, but they are not teachable. They are not submissive. So when we talk about learning, most of the times we limit learning to just people being able to, know. You might have knowledge, or you might have a particular kind of knowledge that might be dangerous even for you, because you don't have other virtues of quality that will sustain that knowledge that you have. So your ability to be teachable, your ability to be, submissive is also in the package of learning. And the E in leader is empathy. So as a leader, you should also um, learn the fact that, or come about the fact that the people who follow you, they have feelings. They are human beings. So these people want to be understood. They want to be respected. They want to be loved. So when you're privileged, because in truth, leadership is a privilege, right? It's a privilege that is granted to you by your followers. In fact, you are only a leader because people are willing to follow you. So leadership is a privilege. So when you find that you have you have the privilege to lead, you need to understand that people, okay, they are not your underdogs. So in other words, you treat people with respect, you treat people with empathy. Sometimes, for example, I know as leaders we are privileged to most times mentor people and coach people. But you see, even if you're in the position to lead others, there are times when they will mess up. The truth is they will at some point. And it's your responsibility now to correct these people. The question is, how do you correct these people? Right? So I always tell people that first, there should always be a connection first before you talk about correction. Because most of these people, they have something going on in their minds, in their hearts. Most of them, they've been broken, they've been betrayed before, and they are looking for someone to trust. So they don't need another person to come, you know, um, start this process of emotional, or what word should I use now? But the truth is that most people, they've been through a lot, and they came to you to help them, to be their hope, to be their guide, to be their motivator, to be their vitamin. So when they see that you're not that person, what else do you want them to believe? They begin to. That's where you see the concept of distrust in relationships, right? When people cannot trust you again, you can break that relationship. So I think as leaders, we should have a form of empathy. And of course, the D, I think, is okay. A comes before D. I think adaptation is very important in leadership, because when it has to do with leadership, a lot of times it's not about the techniques. Yes, by the grace of God, I've been privileged to mentor people. And I see that every time each person has a different need from the other person. So you need to understand that there's what we call adaptive challenges. So how do you go about new challenges when you see them? So as a leader, you should have that quality to adapt to changes, adapt to new circumstances. Sometimes we often see this. You will see someone will come to you, and then all of a sudden they want to leave for no obvious reason. Even as leaders, sometimes we can get really emotional. So how do you control these factors? And it's very important that you adapt. So you need to have the ability to adapt. That's what makes you an outstanding leader. And then the D in leader stands for domain. And you also need to understand that you are not called to lead everybody. Everyone is not for you, and you are not for everyone. So we need to destroy this concept of having so many followers. Take, for example, Jesus. There were thousands following him, but he had 12 he called disciples, people that he was directly accountable for. So everyone, you need to understand that you have a domain, all right? You have a jurisdiction. By the grace of God, you're privileged to talk to people, to mentor them. But you cannot just, of course, meet anybody anywhere and want to talk to the person and all the rest. You have a domain. So people follow you, and it shouldn't be everybody you're leading. Because of course you're going to burn out if you do that. And then the if stands for exemplary lifestyle or living. So as leaders, we are supposed to leave a legacy. One of our to one of our leaders by the name Miles Monroe, he said something that the richest place on earth is not a bank, for the grave. And there was a reason he said that, because a lot of us, we go to the grave with our gifts, with our talents, and with all these other rich deposits that God had placed within us. And others are unable to tap from them, and we just go to the grave with all these things. But you see, as leaders, we should leave a form of legacy, right? We should live our lives such that even when we die, we'll keep on living in the hearts of people, right? So we need to leave that legacy. And whether you like it or not, legacy is not always positive. Sometimes it could be negative. Because many people live a dysfunctional legacy, right? So as a father, you're also a leader. So in your home, what kind of um, legacy are you leaving behind, right? For your children, what kind of legacy are you leaving for your followers? What kind of legacy are you leaving for the outside world? It's very important. Of course, the last one, arrow, is responsibility. Many of us, we want to, you know, we love the word leader. So we love titles. Of course, I'm an apostle, I'm a prophet, I'm this, I'm that. All right. There's nothing wrong about using titles. But the way I see it is that leadership is not just in the title. In fact, it's not title at all. It has nothing to do with that. Leadership is all about responsibility. What are you doing? What can you do? All right. How are you taking your team along with you? How are you treating your followers? How available are you? How accountable are you? There are some persons, they claim they have, for example, those who have mentees, and they are not totally responsible for those people. They just like the name. So they like when people worship them. They like when people, hail them. They like when people, and all these things are not qualities that are necessary in a leader. The leader, you have the responsibility of first becoming a friend or becoming friends with those who are under you, because it's a privilege. You are not there to be a dictator. You're not there to be a tyrant. You're not there to be a despot. So you're there to inspire people. And it's your responsibility first through your lifestyle. And secondly, also, um, you just need to understand that there are roles you need to play in any relationship, be it in marriage. So whether it's in marriage, the husband and the wife, they have their roles, right? And when the husband and the wife understand their individual roles, you see that they can avoid divorce. So it's not love that actually protects marriage, it's maturity. And I think even in any kind of relationship too. So in leadership, you need to understand that as a leader, you have roles that you need to play. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was really amazing. Highlighting those qualities is it's something that we need to take note of. Young people today, they most times they have the wrong perception about what leadership is all about. But these qualities you highlighted goes a long way to tell us that leadership is much more the name and the influence it comes with. So talking about these qualities, there's this saying that everyone is born to be a leader. So can we say leadership qualities is something that is learned, or is it something that they are just born with? So once you come into the world, you already have those qualities to lead.
Um, I think I said one or two things concerning that, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I I think I might have heard something different from what you heard, but I used to hear something like this: leaders are born, leaders are not made. And I think that's actually a myth, all right? Because we need to balance these ideology that leaders are born, leaders are not made. First, I will need to correct the statement that leaders are born. It is true, leaders are born, because by instinct, all right, everyone is a leader. So in other words, by instinct, you're a leader. And why did I say so? Because um, I think we need to go back to Genesis to understand that concept. God created man in his image and after his likeness, and God himself is a leader. So if you're created in the image and after the likeness of God, it means that you have the spirit of leadership within you because God put those qualities within you. The problem we have now in the society is that many people do not realize that they are leaders, right? So by nature, you are a leader. By nature, you are a leader. However, as much as you're a leader by nature, you also need to become a leader. And that's where the learning comes in. You understand? So you need to become a leader, right? How do you become a leader? First, by recognizing who you are. So it has to do with identity. You first need to identify that I am a leader, all right? It has to do with self awareness. And then after self awareness, you now need to do. That's where the doing part comes. So by doing, I mean doing the things that are necessary to, okay, to making you, or doing the things that are necessary to make you become that leader, right? You can't say you're a leader when you don't want to learn. Because just like I said, leaders are people who learn. You might begin to ask yourself, this month, how many books have I read? How many tapes have I listened to? Because you must learn from others. Like I said, every leader was once a follower. You can't become a leader if you don't follow others. The first you need to learn. So we need to balance the equation because yes, everyone is born a leader. Sadly, not everyone becomes a leader.
Um, everyone is born a leader, but not everyone becomes a leader. I used to think, based on that statement, if everybody is born a leader, who is going to follow? Who are going to be the followers? But it's so obvious with the qualities that you've mentioned that if things are not put in place with the right perception and mindset, you won't be able to lead effectively. So going back to one of the qualities you mentioned, I think that's the letter D that talks about domain. um, you made mention of the fact that you were not called to lead everybody. You need to know your followers, the right audience in which you've been called to lead. So I want to ask the question: how do you come to that realization that these are the set of persons that I am called to lead?
All right. Like I said, everyone has the spirit of leadership. So first, that's why God created, all right, man, and he gave him a purpose.
Mm.
So that's where you need to understand the concept of purpose. Once you're able to identify your purpose, you'll be able to identify your domain, right? Because it's in the understanding of your purpose that we keep you in the right track. Many of us we are distracted by so many things because we want to do what everyone else is doing. We want to become like this person. Okay, because this person is, for example, if you see most, I could use churches or organizations today. What is different from this church that makes it unique? You will understand that is what identifying a particular vision and purpose. So everyone has their own unique purpose. Everyone has a unique vision. And once you understand that, all right, you can understand your domain because you are not meant to dominate everywhere. You are not meant as someone as a prince, or let's say as a president of Nigeria. You can't go to America and start commanding things because there's a domain, right? You're limited to a specific area. You're not called to everyone, and everyone is not for you.
Very important. You need to know your purpose. That would guide the sense of your direction and give you an insight of those that you're called to lead. It's been an exciting conversation. Trust you're having a wonderful time. Please, I want you to put in the comment section the value you've been getting, the fire emoji, and the whole lot of things that you've been learning through this section. I want to sincerely appreciate our speaker once again for the time that we've spent so far. It's been a wonderful conversation. So I want to go to the main subject, an outstanding leader. We've talked about the concept of leadership and what it entails, but then there is an adjective, outstanding. So I wanted to throw more insight into what it means to be an outstanding leader. You've stated the qualities of a leader. So what makes a leader outstanding?
Right. Let's come down to the basic concept. That's English language. What do we mean by the word outstanding? It means to stand out, right? To be unique, to be on the dais or to be on the spotlight. For someone to be outstanding, it means you're doing something differently from others, right? Or maybe a little bit differently from others. Um, so, what I think makes should make one an outstanding leader is that you need to understand that a leader is an ordinary person, right? That is placed in an extraordinary circumstance, sometimes tough, other times tempting, right? But producing a form of confidence and trust in other people. So when you look at leaders, they are not just, they are not super, they are not Superman, they are not Spider-Man, all right? They are ordinary people like you and I, but these people are placed in extraordinary circumstances. And sometimes these circumstances, they are tough and sometimes they are tempting. What I mean by tough and tempting is that there are times that as leaders, you face situations where you want to give up or situations where you're supposed to, all right, be tempted to be distracted. But what makes one a leader is the ability to stay disciplined, patient, all right, in the midst of all these things. Because in truth, people are watching. And when you're able to overcome these temptations, all right, and you're able to stay and you overcome these tough circumstances, now it produces a form of confidence in people and, of course, form of trust. And people want to naturally follow you, all right? So people don't follow you because you call yourself a leader. They follow you because of the traits and qualities they've seen in you. And it begins, okay, by understanding that first, you are ordinary, but then in the midst of all these circumstances, you can be disciplined, you can be patient, and also self control, and all these other factors.
Very important. Discipline, self control, very, very important. So we can also add that to the qualities of an outstanding leader.
Yes.
So while you were speaking, my mind went back to one of the qualities you mentioned, and that is adaptation. And so going back to the value system of a leader, to what extent, how do you balance you adapting to a situation at hand as it concerns your mentee, your follower, and then your value system? Can there be a balance where you do not let go of the things you believe in because you're trying to adapt to that situation?
All right. I think leadership, we need to understand that leadership is also a platform for growth. So, what I mean by that is it's not just the people you're leading that are meant to grow, right? Personally, as a leader, I've been privileged to, okay, mentor some persons. And during my journey, I've also experienced exponential growth. It's not it's not necessarily because how should I say this? It's really because in every step, all right, of the way, I learned something new. I've faced or I've been with mentees that were so stubborn that as a leader you could actually easily give up or burn out. So in those tough circumstances, you are left with two options. It's either you run away or you face the challenges head on. That's where adaptive challenges come into play, all right? Because there's what we call technical know-how. So I see people, they say leadership is a form of technique. You see, leadership is not just about the aptitude, it's also about the attitude, all right? It's not just about the aptitude. So you see a lot of people, they know, okay, this is the format I should take. Leadership is not about formats because in every step of the way, you're learning something new. All right. People are different. You don't expect Mr. A to behave like Mr. B. So when you're faced with these challenges, the question is, how do you handle these people? The first, it has to, be on an individual level. You need to understand the person or each person individually because everyone is unique, everyone is different. They have different feelings, different backgrounds, different philosophies. And when you're faced with these people, you cannot compare two people. And that's why, as leaders, we should also avoid comparison, because that's one of the things we do in leadership that is bad and deadly. You don't compare two people. Everyone is unique. All right. So you treat people the same way they are unique. You treat them in a unique way. You correct them in a unique way. You handle situations in a unique way. That's what it means to be a leader. Being able to change when change is demanded, right?
Very important. Thank you so much, Satelo. One thing that caught my attention is when you talk about you getting to know the people that you're leading. I've discovered that it's one of the flaws of leaders. So they are leading a particular set of persons, but they are not ready to give the time.
Yeah.
They're not ready to give that space, that open mindedness to get to know the people that they are leading. And then before you know, they are giving up on this person and all of that. So it's very important as leaders, we get to know those that are following us. Give out the time. That's what makes you a leader. The resilience, the persistent determination to help those persons that are following you to become a better version of themselves. Because that's one of your responsibilities as a leader. Just like you mentioned, the last quality arrow that talks about responsibility. It has been an amazing conversation, and personally, I've been learning a whole lot. I hope you're also learning as well. So we are just going to have a brief conversation around failures as it concerns leadership. You've highlighted the amazing qualities, and that's something that we've taken note of. So the question now is it possible for one to have those qualities and then fail as a leader?
All right. About that, I think failure is common, right? Whether it's in business, whether it's in the economic setting, or in any setting at all, failure is common. But failure is not defeat. So I believe even in relationships, relationships do fail, right? But many people do not understand this concept, and that is where you find concepts like divorce, right? Yes. So even in your relationships, there are times they might fail, and these things happen mostly because of either a feeling of distrust, all right, or maybe there's no loyalty because of course, I've been in that situation where the mentee was feeling unloved. There are many factors that can lead to the failure of leadership or a relationship. And of course, when we talk about leadership, whether it's mentorship, leadership, parenting, they are all a form of relationship. So let's come back to the concept of relationship, because what keeps leadership ongoing is understanding the power of relationship. So, how do you relate with people? All right. That's what makes you an outstanding leader. What's your attitude towards the people you're leading? Right? What's your attitude? How's your relationship with those people? And I see common errors in leadership. For example, the absence of accountability. So how accountable are the people you're leading to you? And how accountable are you, all right, for the people you're leading? So first you need to understand that you're accountable for the people you're leading, and they have to be accountable to you. That's why you see many persons, many followers or many mentees, there are times they want to talk to someone, but because you're unavailable, all right, they feel like there's no need. And so at some point they leave, right? So when there is no understanding, that's why it begins by both persons knowing each other. Come on, when you talk about your relationship with the Holy Spirit, it's the same principle, right? Getting to know the Holy Spirit. It's when you get to know the Holy Spirit, then you can accurately follow His leading. So it comes down to the basics, which is what? Knowing each other. So I think even though as leaders, yes, many times we're going to fail, but that's when or where we should learn how to correct our failures. And the only way to correct a failure is to learn from it. If you've not been doing something the right way, it is time you begin to do the right things. And it's that simple.
Wow. Talking about learning from one's mistake as a leader, can you throw more light on it?
All right. I will also love to, say something else about that. You see, because I said you learn from your mistake, it doesn't mean it has to be your mistake. People say experience is the best teacher,
Mm.
but nobody ever said it has to be your own experience. All right. So there are people who have failed in the past. There are people who have made mistakes, and you could study their lifestyle, maybe read books, okay, and learn from these people. It doesn't always have to be your own experience. All right. But when it has to do with your own experience, then there are many other things you could do. For example, there was a time, because I'm a very disciplined person, and those who are, have been privileged to serve, or those who are under me, I most times discipline them when they do the wrong things. And the fear of most people is discipline.
Mm.
And when you bring in the element of discipline, sometimes they tend to run away. So as a leader, recognizing these things, what do you do? Like I said before, people are different. So when you see that your decisions are going to cost someone else,
Mm.
all right, I think you should learn from that and find other ways, you know, that is peculiar to that person, and deal with that person that way. So there are people I know that today, if I use an ironclad hand on, they are still going to stay, right? But there are some people, they are not yet mature.
Mm.
So that's why there was a way Paul was always speaking to the baby Christians. You understand? Even though they were believers, he understood that they were still what, babes in Christ. And there was a way he was speaking to them. There was a way he was communicating his heart to them. All right. But there were this set of persons that he would come to, and then his words were heavy, because those ones, they had grown to a certain level. So you need to understand people and their level of growth. You don't expect people to come to your level just immediately.
Mm.
You understand? So you need to allow them the privilege of also growing to that level.
Well, that's a very important quality right there. You need to understand people and their level of growth. So the way you handle Mr. A is not the same way you handle Mr. B. That's a very important quality of an outstanding leader. It has been an exciting conversation. Thank you so much once again. We are running off this section. I just want to ask one last question. We talked about the saying that everyone is born to be a leader. So can we say for a fact that everyone is supposed to be a leader?
Okay, about that, everyone, like I said, is born a leader. And in truth, everyone is supposed to be a leader. But the irony now is not everyone is a leader, right? Not everyone is leading. And you might begin to ask the question like, why? Why are people not leading? All right? Or why is everyone not leading? Now, I also need to clear out some um, clouds now. That everyone is supposed to be leading, I need you to understand that the concept of leadership is not about being on the top, right? Because that's what most people think. They think leadership is about being here, but leadership is not about being here. Sometimes leadership is actually being at the valley too,
Hmm.
because you realize that it is better to watch someone climbing the mountain. It's always amazing to watch people climb the mountain. Yes. What do I mean by that? I know a lot of times we want to go from top. Nobody grows from top. You grow from where?
But
The bottom. So sometimes leadership is all about what? Being a follower first.
hmm.
So because sometimes when we say leader, I am a leader, but I'm also a follower. You need to understand that. All right? Because we say people are leading, it does not always mean to be here.
Well, that's an amazing point right there. It has been an interesting conversation so far, and I trust our viewers have learned a whole lot and you've gained value through this section. We are rounding up, like I mentioned earlier. So I don't know if our speaker has anything to add for.
Um, all I will say is there are some of you out there and you believe that leadership is only for a